We are continuing our King of the Hill breakdowns with Season 1, Episode 2, Square Peg. The episode begins with an establishing shot of Peggy grading papers, so we now know that she's a teacher. 1996 Substitute Teacher of the Year, to be exact. As she's grading these papers, Hank yells from the living room that he has hurt his back yet again. So Peggy goes and gets some icy hot for Hank's back. When Hank takes his shirt off, y'all, it's like he has Fenty, 350 as arms, and then the rest of his body is like Fenty 125. Like, friend, can you please use some sunblock? You need some sunscreen for inside of the house. This is ridiculous. Bobby walks in as Peggy is applying the icy hot to Hank's back, and Hank is like, whoa, Peggy, not while the BOY is here. Girl! This is when Bobby asks that his parents sign a permission slip for him to learn sex education in school, and Hank is livid. Bobby is like, I don't understand. Why can't I learn about the horizontal hustle? And Peggy is like, well, technically the government should not teach it to you. That's our job, technically. And Hank is like, I don't care. Go to your damn room. Hank rips up the permission slip and is like, there's no reason for Bobby to learn about the devil's tango, especially at his age and with his features. Features! Him talking about that child features really sent me over the edge because first of all, he built like you. He shaped like you. And when Hank and Peggy sit down to discuss what they're gonna do next, this is when we realize that they also have issues discussing spicy friction. They do not like talking about it. So Peggy is like, well, technically, you're the father. You should go in there and talk about that. And he's like, I don't have a degree. I wasn't the substitute teacher of the year in 1996. She's like, you got me there. Let me go in here. So Peggy walks in this room with fear and trembling. Like, you would think she about to go talk to a pastor. She asks this child how he's doing, and he says, well, I am a little bit worried about being a slut. What? So Peggy don't budge. She's like, oh, okay, well, me and your father think it's time for us to talk to you about this, and, because women have one thing, and she's so nervous, and boys, they have, and Bobby goes, a penis? And she says, what? Enough of that. She literally leaves. Now back outside, these fools are trying to cut branches off of a tree. I just want to bring attention to this really quickly because while this is a waist belt so that you don't further injure your back during a back injury, he looks like the way that we looked in 2009 when we would wear them very thick belts around with a t-shirt and jeans under it. Why were you wearing a belt and a belt with it was just so much? This is when we learn that the rest of the children have also received this permission slip. And of course, Dale goes the conspiracy theory route and it's like, this is so they can deplete our armies and make us weak and then our foreign enemies can take over. At this point, Peggy comes outside and she's like, Hank, I couldn't do it. He said the actual term for the male anatomy and I just couldn't do it. And of course, these fools are like, you had her try to do a man's job? Boomhauer is like, ain't no lady job. My god daggone dad told me, ain't no way to equality. What? Hank agrees with Boomhauer and he's like, this is a man's job. Technically, my daddy taught me too. I want to show y'all what Cotton Hill taught him. This is how. Cotton Hill literally took young Hank out to the cow ranch and had him watch them cows make spicy milk. He was traumatized, obviously, but obviously not traumatized enough because Hank decides to do the same thing, but he takes Bobby to an unnatural ranch. Now, when we, the viewers, saw this, we knew what that meant. Hank and Bobby didn't. They didn't. I don't know what kind of spicy milk he thought he was gonna see, but babes, you're about to see artificial spicy milk. And in the words of Darcy from 90 Day Fiance, it did not go good. So he just said, you know what? We're gonna go ahead back home, put together this permission slip and let you go to school. Shortly after they put together the permission slip, Peggy receives a call from the school. And she learns that somebody crazy has called the school and has threatened the substitute teacher that's gonna be teaching the course. And Hank is like, you say what now? Because outside, Dale just told Hank that he took care of it and that nobody would ever know what happened. We know what happened. So Hank is like, well, I guess that solves that. And Peggy is like, yeah, that's where you're wrong because I'm the 1996 Substitute Teacher of the Year and I'm about to teach this course. And that is when I leaned in. Child, the next morning we go into the kitchen and we see Luann reading her hairstyling theory book. And what is Peggy reading? Honey, Peggy is at the kitchen table reading up on that. Let us be glad. Let us be grateful. And Peggy Peggy is really struggling to read this book because she don't be saying no words. And Luann is like, I mean, it's easy. And she's like, well, I mean, Luann, it's easy for you because you don't have shame. She's like, I do. Ever since I remember when I was a young girl, my mom came in and she could barely tell me about the birds and the bees. She just gave me a book full of flowers and told me, you know, you're going to have a visitor. And I asked Aunt Flo, who is that? And she says, here's a book, I'm leaving. And Hank comes in and is trying to figure out why she at the table reading trash. Mind y'all, it's an educational book. He said he can see that lady inside parts. And he's like, and Bobby's only been out of yours for 11 years. I want y'all to understand, the next scene, they go to Bobby, and Bobby is completely unbothered by all of this. That is until somehow this course is brought up in their conversation. And that's when we realize that Bobby does not get it at all. And Bobby is like, I mean, you know, at this point I'm mature. So I'm just waiting for whoever is trying to, you know, do the dirty Nintendo with me. Like, it's too much. We go outside and we learn that everybody in the neighborhood now knows that Peggy is teaching this class. And they are not happy about it. That's until they realize that if Peggy is an expert, there's a possibility that she may have one up on Hank, and they like, I don't know, Hank, you may not be enough for her after this. At Bobby's baseball game is when we learn that this entire town has a suppression issue. This woman still calls it your hoo-hoo and your wink-wink. Mind you, she's 43. This woman looks like a stop sign and says that she's only ever seen a book about flowers and she don't know anything else. And the last woman is the saddest because she said that she doesn't even remember it when her husband does it. You know what? I need an episode just on them. Because that 25-second clip that I watched, my mouth was ajar. The town is a mess. For some reason, this child believes because Bobby's mom is teaching the educational course that means she's going to be naked the whole time. Please don't take the Department of Education. Please don't take it from us. This is why we need the Department of Education. As everybody is making a complete fool of themselves, Bobby actually is doing better in baseball and he hits the ball and is able to run to almost the second base. To which his mother yells from the stands, go all the way, Bobby! Take it all the way to third base! You know, I think that she could have really thought about that because everybody in the audience was like, of course you think he should. Just fantastic writing. That evening, they get a threatening call from a mysterious anonymous caller saying, and by anonymous, I mean, it's Dale going, hey, Peggy, you don't know me, but I know you. Don't teach that class or else. The dumbest character. But girl, apparently the education has reached Hank because he in there reading about the apple bottom tango. And Peggy comes in with some lotion and is like, hey, Hank, don't you want to lotion me up? And she's like trying to be all cute with it. She got her little TJ Maxx lingerie on. And he is completely just not trying to hear it. He's like, girl, I don't want no lotion. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm about to go to bed. It doesn't matter if I'm moisturized or not. I just cannot get over this tan line. Friends of the other persuasion, can y'all please, for me, use some black girl sunscreen. You cannot be walking around looking like you got a t-shirt made of skin on. I am not okay. And they actually get into an argument about it because she's like, I don't understand. If the kids are not educated about it, they won't know what to do when it comes to them. And then there's just gonna be bad things. And this is why we need the Department of Education. This is why. And Hank is like, well, education wasn't important when you took those kids to the concert instead of taking them to make them macaroni necklaces. And Peggy is like, I don't care about none of that because them kids are gonna learn about the 18 stages of arousal because it's far more than what I knew yesterday. So for the next couple of days, she studies and she barely goes to sleep and get into it. I told y'all my girl had that thing on her. The day before she starts teaching, she is finally feeling comfortable enough to say the anatomically correct names of organs. That's where she was. But she gets too comfortable and screams the word vagina so loud that Hank can hear it. And he's like, why you in here cussing? The day she's supposed to report in, Hank takes Bobby to work with him because he's like, I still don't want my son hearing about this. I don't care if it is from his mama. And the first 10 minutes of this class, Peggy is just saying her name over and over again because she is so nervous to teach this course and she cannot believe she has to do it. That is until we learn that Hank has had a change of heart and he now brings Bobby to class because Bobby has such inappropriate, weird questions at his job and he said, no, you can need some education. But when Peggy asked for the kids who did not receive permission to leave, the entire class, except for Bobby, leaves. Nobody got permission. So it just ended up being her and Bobby in the class the whole time. Parents, let this be a lesson on to you. Let these kids get their education. Y'all don't have the skill set. Unless you're a teacher, then you might. Episode 3 will be coming out next week. Thanks, y'all.